what surprised me most here is that typically you think of Apple as being the creative force, the one to come up with something new. They spend so much money on R&D, and here they're going out and buying this. I mean, is that sort of out of what it traditionally would be?
It's a head scratcher, right? I mean, people want to see Apple deploy the cash, but I don't think anyone was expecting this. First off, it's primarily a hardware play. We'll get to the services play next, but it's a maker of headphones, right? And they're high margin. The quality of the headphones are suspect. If you sort of stick into Google, right? Beats headphones are, right? There's a lot of quality questions about the product themselves. And then the other point
But you see this as more of a hardware play as opposed to this streaming service?
Well, the bulk of what they do is sell the headphones, the hardware. If you want to buy a streaming service, there's a lot of other properties that you could acquire for either less or more than Beats. Beats streaming is the baby. They're brand new to the game. They're
brand new, but they have captured a lot of attention because of the style of the actual product. It's a little bit more user friendly.
How many users do you think they have?
Oh, they have about 28,000 users. Those are the latest numbers. And to be successful in streaming music, analysts say you need anywhere between 5 and 10 million. So clearly they're not profitable yet. But Apple has really struggled in music, and this is quite a reversal because they were such a pioneer with iTunes. Now people want to rent their music. They were behind the curve.
Couldn't they just do that? I mean, Ethan, couldn't they just make it so that you could rent it? They could create a service in iTunes that's similar to Spotify or Pandora?
Well, sure, they absolutely could do that, but I think they're behind the 8 ball on a couple trends. They lost the cool factor. They're no longer hip with younger people don't perceive Apple products in the same way that they used to, and specifically around cloud services like streaming. Apple is nowhere. They're terrible at those kinds of products, and so this is them kind of skating to where they think the puck is going and trying to buy back into that coolness that they've lost.
Just my own personal reporting around this, I went to Apple just a month ago and I said, look, you launched the service, iTunes Radio, back in September. You come out in October. You say you have 20 million users, and then we've had no updates on users. I've pressed the company for user numbers on iTunes Radio, and I've gotten nothing, and that is further indication that they've tried to capture streaming, but they just haven't been able to do it.
So is this going to work for them?
Digital sales have slumped for the first time ever in 2013. Right? Everyone is moving to streaming. Apple needs to get into streaming, but they're the largest player. Why not go out and buy the largest player? Right? Try to acquire Spotify. If you're going to really get into it big. You could use that mountain of offshore cash.
Why do you think they did this? And by the way, $3.2 billion. I mean, that's a lot of money.
It's not for Apple. It's not for Apple.
Actually,
right? To be fair, but it's still,
I know, but that always makes me nervous, Colin. When you start saying, well, it's like people saying, okay, 19 billion wasn't a lot for,
wait,
for WhatsApp, for Facebook.
Hold on a second. You can't just look at offshore cash because a lot of that will require a huge tax hit if you bring it over. If you look at the U.S. operations alone and the stock buybacks that they have to do and the dividends that they're paying out and the capex, they're actually short about $9 billion on a going forward basis through 2015. If you actually,
so in other words, you're basically saying they don't have money to just throw out there. It's got to make real sense.
It's got to make real sense. It's
right.
not just a throwaway thing.
So it's not just a throwaway thing, but it also raises the question of if they're low on domestic cash, why don't you use your offshore cash to acquire the largest player in the space, Spotify?
Because Spotify may not want to sell.
Well, they may not want to sell, but you can listen. It's Apple, right? They have ways.
You can sell them.
Right?
You write that check.
Why, like the Godfather?
Why do you have to acquire anything? I mean, are they going to change the way these things look? I mean, are we going to see an A instead of a B on them?
Well, that's what analysts are so scratching their heads about is because...
Go ahead, Ethan. What do you think? I'm looking at the headphones here.
Yeah, I think there's a missing piece to this here. I think what Apple's realizing is that their relationship with the music industry, they used to have all the power in that relationship. People wanted music on their phones. Apple was the best place to go get it. They made you go get it through their monopoly over the iPod and the iPhone and how people played it. Now people want to get music in the cloud. They don't have an advantage there, and they're not particularly good at cloud services. So they need to buy into somebody that they felt had that relationship and could sort of put them back on top with the music industry, and they think that's what they're getting here.
Yeah, but Ethan, do you really think you're getting that? Do you think you're getting a good cloud services play by buying Beats?
Not today. And so what they're predicting is that in the future, this is where the industry is going. I think it's a head scratcher too. I agree with you.
That's it.
But
They
you can
could probably
see the
build
logic
one just as easily.
Yeah, I mean, they're spending all this money on R&D. Why not build something?
But
what you can't build the cool factor, and you can't build those relationships with the music industry to make it all work.
But they're cool. I mean, Apple
jury's
is
out
cool,
whether it'll
right?
Work.
I mean,
Apple's not cool anymore.
Less,
it's not
less than they used to be.
But the
not
question
as cool as they used to be.
The question is also how long can Beats be cool? Right?
Now
they just sold to Apple. I mean, you got to wonder, what's the thinking there?
People are trying to justify the deal by saying it brings Jimmy in, right? Jimmy Iovine in.
Yeah.
And so that he's an important figure in the music business, and he's going to take a critical role inside of Apple, being an advisor to Tim Cook, and drive Apple's music vision forward. But that's still a big price tag for one person.
I agree with you. I mean, I think we are all scratching our heads over this.
We want to see Apple be more aggressive, but this first move is like,
and it just seems so against the culture of that place.
Yeah, not only that, but investors want to see Apple do something innovative with the credit card information they have, right? They have enormous credit card information of all the people that are on iTunes. Why aren't they developing something over payments? Why aren't they going into uncharted territory? Why are they essentially buying a brand?
Right.
What we are talking about is buying a brand.
They are a brand. So what might have made better sense is to buy the technology and put your brand on it. You be the cool one as opposed to acquiring